Thank you, everyone. If anyone feels the need to stand up and kind of zhuzh yourself about, please do. Okay, so let's first of all just quickly talk about the problem. So 35% of Australians report experiencing serious levels of distress in their lives. So if you look around the room right now, if you look at the person to the left and to the right of you, statistically 1 out of the 3 of you is experiencing severe levels of distress. 26% report above normal levels of anxiety. Anxiety is through the roof in this country, particularly at the moment. Then we've got 26% of Australians reporting moderate to extremely severe levels of depression symptoms. And then we've also got this whole link. I'm sure you've all heard about the mind-body connection. That brings us to the last stat, where 31% of the burden of disease experienced by us is actually from preventable or modifiable factors. So we're talking about things like obesity, smoking, drinking alcohol, and insufficient activity. So, you know, there's a massive burden on our economy, not to mention us personally and within our communities, as a result of this being stressed and being busy all of the time. And it's even more prominent within the business world, as I'm sure you can all appreciate. So, in my super quick version of this talk today, I'm going to talk to you about how stress and busyness is impacting our physical bodies and our mental health. And also I'm going to quickly give you some insights into how to leverage your brain so that you can optimize your health and achieve your goals. So yes, we'll be talking about some physical strategies, but I want to teach you, as Alex was saying, how to get everything cranking on the inside so that therefore everything that you want kind of works on the outside as well. So real quick insight into why I do what I do, because it's very important. So my mission is to make a massive dent in these rapidly increasing statistics of lifestyle-related disease and levels of distress that are coming, as I just said, as a result of our unnecessarily stressed and busy lifestyles. I'm not okay with where it's going. My parents had their own business for years and years and years. They've retired, and to be quite honest, their bodies are shutting down. They don't have any serious disease, but they've got all these things that are just making life a little bit harder, and it's because of a life of busyness and stress, and that's upsetting, and I want to make sure that as many people as possible do not have to end up in that space. So I came to Australia and I fell into the personal training industry. I, being the person that I am, wasn't satisfied with just being a personal trainer, so I was like, right, well, clearly I'm going to own my own gym. So I worked my way up in the first gym, managed that, and then someone contacted me about an old video store. Does anyone remember what a video is? And said, hey, there's this vacant space, do you want to turn it into a gym? So I, of course, said yes, sold everything that I had to get the capital, and I built a gym, put in bathrooms, all that kind of jazz. Just so you know, there actually is a gym going on behind here. It wasn't just one squat rack and a couch. So yeah, that was my baby, and as far as I was concerned, I had done it. I'd achieved my dream. So leading up to this, I actually was already burning out. I just didn't realize it because I was too busy to try and figure out what was going on with my body. So all the things I'm about to talk to you about were happening to me. So I was putting on weight even though my diet and exercise hadn't changed. I was very tired all the time, or I had erratic energy when I shouldn't have it. My moods were up and down. I had severe hormonal issues, mood issues, very severe digestive issues, you know, to the degree where at one point I was in my personal training uniform one day and someone asked me if I was pregnant. Ladies, I'm sure you can appreciate, no one ever wants to be asked if they're pregnant when they're not, especially when you're a friggin' personal trainer. So all that was happening, but as I say, I tried to fix it with diet and exercise, but that didn't work. Then I opened my gym. Obviously there were delays in the build, so all the stress was kind of building, not to mention the fact that I just started a new business, which is, as I'm sure you can appreciate, quite stressful in itself. So about 8 months into operation, one Friday afternoon, I had finally gone home early. I was like, guys, I'm buggered. I'm going home. You guys finish off the night. Said that to my team. Got on the couch, got a call from my head trainer, and he said, hey, Laura, there's been a bang and there's some smoke. My first reaction was, for fuck's sake, can I not just go home for one night? Anyway, got in my car, drove back down to the studio. On the way, had a text message from my alarm company, and it said overload. And I was like, interesting. Got to the traffic lights and could smell some smoke and saw a fire engine scream past. So, long story short, over the course of the next 2 hours, this is what happened to my little baby. So you want to know about stress, my friends? That epitomizes stress. So I stood and watched the entire building fall into the street, basically. Now, you would think that that was enough for me to go, right, let's make a change. Oh no. As far as I was concerned, this was my opportunity to show everyone that I was a phoenix rising from the flames. So I relocated my business the next day to another gym, took all my clients to another gym, and carried on operating for another 9 months. Within that time, I hit full burnout. I was adrenally fatigued. Like, everything I'd mentioned was supersized. And so I finally shut the business down, and I had to figure out what the hell is going on with my body. So again, long story short, we're talking a lot of money, a lot of time. I finally came to the realization that it was my mind driving my body. And that's when I created my company, Uppy. And as you'll see, Uppy means you, the real you, and nothing but the real you. So what I came to the realization was that all of this stuff that was happening in my body physiologically, all the behavior that I was displaying, was basically because I was shit scared of just showing up as myself. I was always thinking, who should I be? What should I do? I was a perfectionist. I wanted to please everyone, be liked by everyone, be the best all of the time. And all of that was constantly sending signals to my brain that I was in danger. So therefore, it was trying to keep me safe by putting me into fight or flight mode. Because I wasn't fighting or running away, then I had all these processes going on that then started to wreak havoc in my body and indeed my life. So I like things to be simple. So this is the principle that I work with everyone. How can we get you to know who you are and to be confident being that person no matter what? That's when you can let all these unnecessary thoughts and worries melt away, or at least you can manage them so they don't take over your life. That's really the goal that we're striving for in everything that we do. So just a quick insight. This is how I deliver everything. I've now also got an online academy. That's all you need to know. These are some things that I've been in. And now let's crack on with the value. So if anyone's got any questions, shout out. If I'm going to I'll answer it, I'll let you know, or I can just answer it at the end. So let's talk about what happens when we are busy and when we're stressed. Now, it's important for me to stress, excuse the pun, that when I'm talking about stress, I'm not talking necessarily about overwhelm and, I can't cope. Stress shows up for everyone in different ways, and I can just mean busyness. So I'm sure you all understand what I'm talking about when it's constantly thinking, what am I going to do next? What's happening about this? What's going to happen in the future? What about the kids? What about the business? All that kind of stuff. That comes under the umbrella of stress, right? So just so you know. So when we have these thoughts, when we have this busyness and the stress occurs, it sends signals through our brain to our autonomic nervous system. Now, just so you all know, as I said, I'm all about simplifying things. So this is my nice little simple diagram. So our autonomic nervous system, I like to think of as a car, like the driving force of our body. So when there's stress occurring, the signals go through that to our sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight or flight mode. Has everyone heard of fight or flight? So that gets triggered so that we can literally fight or run away. So some of the key things that happen, so it floods our body with adrenaline and cortisol. So what that then does is it increases our heart rate and our blood pressure, so everything can be pushed around the body as quickly and efficiently as possible. Our breathing rate increases again, so everything can be pushed around the body. Everything goes to all of the organs and the systems that are going to help us fight or run away. And it releases glucose and releases fat, so releases energy. So indeed, we've got enough energy to fight or run away from whatever this danger is. So I always like to think of the sympathetic nervous system as the accelerator on a car. So I'm sure you can all appreciate that if you keep your foot on the accelerator for an extended amount of time, eventually you're going to run out of fuel and break down, right? You've got the car guy up there. That's what happens, right? Same for us. So what we need to do is learn how to put the foot on the brake a little bit more consistently. And the brake in this instance is the parasympathetic nervous system, which we call rest and digest. So has anyone ever experienced when you're really chilling out, or maybe you've had a massage, or for me it quite often happens when I'm doing some yoga, that your tummy starts to gurgle? Has anyone ever had that? It's literally your rest and digest system, your parasympathetic nervous system coming out to play, right? So everything then starts to function as it should do. So let's just quickly look at some of the things that can, my brain's saying go tits up, that's my English, when we are stressed all the time. So again, I'm going to give you a really quick insight. It's a lot of info. The point of today is for me to just open up a door for you so you can get a better understanding. So number one that loves to go up the creek without a paddle is our digestion. So remember I said that our brain wants to send all of the energy and everything so we can fight or run away. What it looks at is, what do I not need in order to fight and run away? Well, I don't need digestion, so I'm going to nick all the energy from that. I'm going to slow that down so that I can send it all to my extremities. So quite often when you're stressed, you might experience unexplained bloating, you might have pain even in your gut, you might have erratic bowel movements. That's your digestion basically under stress. Then we've got, so if the digestion isn't working, number one, can't extract all the nutrients from the food that you're eating, assuming you've eaten the right food in the first place, which means our cells can then become tired right down to a cellular level because they're just not getting the energy they need. And it also means we can become toxic because we're not ridding the waste properly. So our body can then have a toxic buildup, which then means that we can become inflamed. Now, inflammation is something we really want to avoid. That can then be linked with sickness, with disease, and yeah, we don't want any of that. So we want to avoid inflammation. It also then can put a lot of strain on the lymphatic system, which I like to think of as the highway of the body. So imagine if you're going down the M1 to Sydney and there's an accident and there's a blockage, everything gets backed up. Same thing with the lymphatic system. So we want to make sure that everything's cruising along nicely with that. Also puts a massive strain on the liver. The liver is the detoxifier of the body along with the lymphatic system. So that then means we can't process fat properly, we can't process sex hormones, the toxicity can't be processed. So again, everything is kind of like a perpetual cycle, so everything just continues to build up. Can also screw around with the thyroid, so you might have weight issues. That's a metabolic, the driver of our metabolism. Can also cause insulin issues. As I was saying, when we're stressed, our body will release a lot of energy so that we've got the energy to fight or run away. So of course, if we're not using that and the body's consistently trying to balance it, it then gets confused. Reproductive system, that's another thing that the brain likes to shut down, because if there is danger present, then it certainly doesn't want to bring a baby into the world. We also might find that libido is low, sperm count can be low for men, and it can mean that ladies can have trouble ovulating. Ladies, you might experience, painful periods or PMS, sorry boys, talking about periods, as well. So again, all of these things are just little tiny signs and symptoms for you to look out for that are not normal. We like to pass these things off as normal, but if you get any of these things, it's just a little trigger for you to go, okay, what's going on? Firstly, how can I calm my body down? And then secondly, if it doesn't go away, who do I need to go and see? And then, of course, mood, right? You all know that, and that's affected for various different reasons. The digestion and the liver are very linked to mood. So, it's not just that pressure, also physiologically, our mood can be impacted as a result of this. Any questions? That was, a lot of info. As I say, I'm just skimming the surface. I don't want to be the bearer of doom, but it's very real. And this is happening to most of us to some degree at different times in our lives. It's really important to know. I believe through understanding, that's how we can create change. So let's look at how we can create change. So the most important thing for us to know is that the brain's number one priority in life is to keep us safe. We still operate the same as we always have. The world has evolved at an amazing rate, but fundamentally we are still the same. We're still like cave people. And so all the brain wants to do is make sure we're safe so that we can procreate and keep our species alive. So whenever you're thinking something, whenever you're feeling something, whenever you're behaving in a way, the first question to ask yourself is, what does my brain need right now in order to feel safe? How can I communicate to my brain right now that I'm safe? And I'm going to give you some insight right now into some ways that you can do that. So first, just let me know how I'm going on time, by the way, and okay. First, let's talk about some physical strategies. So I want to introduce you to this analogy of the bow and arrow. So imagine I've got a bow and arrow. What is the point of a bow and arrow? What are you trying to achieve? Someone shout out. Hit the target, right, yeah, as quickly and as efficiently as possible, right? Perfect. But in order to do that, we have to take the arrow back in the opposite direction from where we want it to go. And in doing so, it gets the momentum it needs to shoot forward and hit that target as quickly and as efficiently as possible. If we didn't take it in the opposite direction, we would just be pushing the arrow and it would flop down. Pushing the arrow, it would flop down. We might eventually get it to the target, but it's going to take much longer and be much harder. So this is the same for our bodies. When we step back, we are communicating to our brain that everything's okay, because if it wasn't, we would be going as far forward as we could, as quickly as possible to get the hell out of there or fight whatever this danger was. So here are some really simple ways that we can step back, and the key to this, by the way, is consistency and regularity. So as you can see from here, breathing, right? You can do that anytime, anywhere. It is free, right? You don't need anything. So you can imagine if you're sat down and you're doing a few deep breaths, there's no way that you can be in fight or flight mode. Your brain knows you're okay, because if there's a woolly mammoth coming to kill you, you wouldn't just sit down and take a few deep breaths, right? You'd be getting the hell out of there. So just by sitting down, doing some deep breathing, your brain goes, all right, everything must be cool. Puts the foot on the brake, the parasympathetic nervous system, everything can calm down and everything can function as normal. So that's number one. Obviously, the next stage up is meditation. Meditation can be very scary for people. I was one. I used to run for the hills whenever anyone said about meditation. But meditation is basically like breathing and calming on steroids, right? So it's ultimate calming for your body. It also has many other benefits. You know, one good one is it improves cognitive functioning. So I'm sure as business owners, you'd all like to, you know, think a bit better and a bit more efficiently. And you can get heaps of different apps to support you through that. And it's just important to know that it takes time and it's okay. You don't have to nail it straight away. You'll never nail it like completely all of the time. Even now I'll sit down sometimes and it ain't happening, but at least I'm just stopping for a moment and still communicating to my brain that I'm safe. And this one's an interesting one. Get logical. So when we are stressed, when we're in that fight or flight mode, we're in our emotional brain. You know, that animal instinct is kicking in. So if we can change where we're thinking, so if we can start to think in our logical brain, it means we're really able to take a step back, see everything for what it is, and then take proactive action moving forward. So getting logical could be something like literally writing stuff down. It could even be solving a problem, like, you know, doing a bit of a crossword or trying to solve a maths problem or something like that. Just by engaging that logical brain, it's going to allow you to get out of that fight or flight instinct and, as I say, think more logically. Couple more, do what you love. How good is that as a strategy? So if we're doing something we love, we feel good right down to the depths of our core. So again, our brain goes, well, everything must be all right, because if there was danger present, you wouldn't have time to stand and sing a song or watch puppy videos on YouTube. You'd be fighting or running away. So doing what you love consistently, and it can be tiny things. You know, I've got one client who loves George Michael. She'll sit and listen to a 3.5-minute George Michael song, and that kind of Control-Alt-Deletes her brain for a bit, allows her to step back. Another client loves playing the ukulele, so she has a little play on the ukulele. Another client buggers off to the toilet to do a breathing session because she knows she's not going to get disturbed in the toilet. And then these couple of ones, you know, we all know, eat well, exercise, we got it, but it's really important to listen to our bodies. So if you're already in a stress response and then you go and do some hard exercise, you're actually creating the same response. So you might be adding fuel to the fire. So you need to check in with your body and say, what do I need right now? Am I stressed? Am I really tired? Maybe I just need a nice walk. Maybe I just need to sit and breathe. Maybe I need to do a bit of yoga. Maybe I just need to go and look at some nature, whatever. That's going to do more benefit for you than going to the gym and busting your ass at the gym if your body's in that state. And of course, eat calm. So as I mentioned, the digestion is one of the things that loves to get buggered up when we're stressed. So if we're stressed and then we start putting more stuff into our stomach and into our digestion, it's not going to get processed correctly, and then we're going to start getting bloated. We're not going to get the nutrients. We're going to get toxic. So, sitting down, putting your phone away while you're eating, try not to eat al desco, as I call it. Remove yourself, do a few deep breaths, and then eat. It means that your digestion is going to be able to do its job much more efficiently. Any questions? Now, I know this probably sounds really simple, and it is. But the key is in consistency. So just keep remembering, foot on the brake, foot on the brake. So it's like this. Sometimes, of course, in business, you have to have your foot on the accelerator a little bit more, but you still just need to get that balance of on the brake. And that's really when you can get true balance. It's not that you have to have equal time at home and equal time at work. My definition of balance is your inner and your outer worlds are aligned. So your actions and your behaviors are aligned with what's going on inside. So aligned with your values and aligned with your goals. Yes?
Sorry. I was just going to add a little tiny bit to that.
Yes, please.
When we do have time to rest, make it okay that it's time to rest as well.
Absolutely.
For me, so much more oh, I've got time. What should I be doing? What should I be doing? What should I be doing? So use that time as a...
Totally. Like, we're all obsessed with productivity, and one of the most important things I do with my clients is help them understand or change their version of productivity. Actually, having rest time, looking after ourselves is actually way more productive than anything else. Yeah, Mel?
Does that mean I need to check in with my body? Because everyone has a go at me that I don't know how to relax.
Yeah, and it's a skill that you need to learn.
I have no idea how to turn off. I've run a business part of this that was 24/7. So the arm hold-ups, someone not turning up at midnight. I was trained not to turn off.
Yeah.
And I've got a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday job that's going to shut down for 3 weeks over Christmas. I have no idea what to do.
So, yeah, right. So you rightly said you were trained not to turn off. So now you need to train your brain how to turn off. So slow and steady wins the race. So the first thing, again, I do with people is get them to brain dump all the things that bring them joy, all the things they're passionate about, and all the things they need to have in their life in order to feel good. Like, write all the things from, big things like honesty and integrity, right down to tiny things like good food or puppies or whatever. I love puppies, in case you didn't get that. That comes up all the time. So do that, Mel. Like, just write down what are the things I love and that light me up. Then when it comes to your rest time, you can just pick, mix and match. I'm going to do that now, and then I'm going to do that now. But you have to train your brain. So to start with, your brain's to be like, what are you doing? Like, we don't do this, we don't chill out. And that's okay. But the more you do it, the more the brain will feel safe. Because for you at the moment, your safety for you is always being on the go. That's how your brain feels safe. So you need to teach your brain that stopping is actually the new way that you feel safe, or allowing yourself time to stop. It's okay. So your brain just needs to experience it to know that nothing bad is going to happen or come of it. Does that make sense?
I did have one question you were saying
Yeah.
about exercising. It's like I go to the gym quite a lot, and the thing you always told is like you're going to the gym releases endorphins, makes you feel better and whatnot. So it's like really interesting saying like, if I'm stressed at work, like one of the guys I work with was like, mate, you need to go to the gym. And it's something that I've always just thought, oh yeah, go to the gym, I'll go for a run because I'm already stressed.
Yeah.
So it's actually counterintuitive, is it?
Could be, yeah. And again, everyone's different.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. It's what's going on in your mind, yeah. So it can be good to go and, have a run or do some boxing. Like, that could be okay, but you just have to check in with yourself and ask how you feel. So you might try it, and if you feel extra amped up, or if you feel extra tired even after it, then you go, okay, maybe I need to bring it down a notch. And it might not be that you have to do a different exercise, but maybe you just bring the intensity down for a bit. And it's important to remember, everyone, nothing's forever. So, what you need right now won't be what you need in the future. So it's all about checking and going, what do I need at this moment in time? So as a personal trainer, I used to lift heavier than my male clients. I used to run 30K before work on a Saturday. I smashed my body, and I was convinced if I didn't do that, I was going to become morbidly obese, right? I've always had this issue with my body. I had to stop doing that because I was adding fuel to the fire, and I've actually never really gone back to hard exercise. I did yoga and walking for 18 months to 2 years, guess what? I lost weight. I was healthier than I'd ever been. I wasn't healthy when I was my skinniest, my fastest, and my strongest. It was when I actually then calmed everything down that I was healthy. So yeah, it's just about checking in, where am I at right now? And you might be able to run this week and next week maybe not. So just always, where am I at right now? Are we all right for time? Or, yeah? That's all right. Yeah, bring it on. It's fine. We'll all take a deep breath so we're eating calmly. Okay, so I just wanted, this is a really horrible diagram. I need to make my own one that doesn't look as horrible. So I just want to give you a really quick insight into some other brain stuff, just so you can understand how things work on the inside. So this is a model that comes from NLP, if anyone knows about NLP. I love it. Choose to believe it or not if you want, but for me, I think it's amazing, and it really explains stuff well. So every single second, we absorb about 2 million bits of information. So what we see, feel, hear, touch, and taste, so through our senses. Now, of those 2 million bits, we only consciously process about 134. So what that means is there's all this stuff going on around us that we're not consciously aware of. And we couldn't be, because we'd just be in overload. We can't deal with that much stuff. So our brain organizes it. So it'll either just delete stuff, so we don't even know it existed. It will generalize stuff, so it might go, right, this is a flat structure with something else coming off the bottom, and I can put stuff on it, so it must be a table. I'll put that in the table pigeonhole. Or it will distort stuff to fit in with what you already know. So you might look at that over there and go, well, that's also got a flat structure and something coming off of it, and I could put some stuff on it, so that could be a table as well. So it'll just distort things. Now, the way the brain decides what to do with these bits of information and which bits to let into our consciousness depends on things like our values, our beliefs, our experiences, our attitudes, our culture, all these, I call them blueprints, that we've built up over our life. Our brain will take those and it will filter out all the information and then show us the stuff that aligns with our blueprint. Let's just test this for a moment, okay? So I'm going to flash up a photo. And I want you to, I'm going to ask you all, tell me the very, very first thing that comes into your mind when you see this photo, okay? All right, Jacinta. What's the first word that came into your mind?
Summer.
Summer?
Belly button.
Belly button. Boobies? Yeah, a lot of people do think that. Alex, over back.
I see Instagram. That's what's going on in my mind right now.
Yep.
Digital mind.
Yeah, exactly.
I just saw breasts.
Yep.
Yeah, thinking, I guess.
Yeah.
I thought bitch.
Mel?
I looked at that as an influence.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought the same. It's like, I was trying to identify.
Who she was, yep.
I was looking at facial expression.
Boobs.
Puppies. Love it. So can you see how we are all looking at the exact same photo, but everyone has interpreted it in a very different way? You've all let a different set of bits into your consciousness. So yours was a great one, Alex, Instagram, right? Because you're all about social and, promotion. Perfect. I'm not going to mention any of the others and why you interpreted it that way.
Summer.
Yeah, summer, exactly, right? So it just shows that although we'll all go home today, you'll all remember different things about this experience. Some might be correct, some might be not. That's okay. That's the way your brain wants to interpret it. I always liken it to when we buy a new car. So has anyone ever bought a new car and then all of a sudden you start to see that car everywhere on the road? Yeah? It's not because there's more cars, it's because you've got the imprint of that car in your blueprint, so your brain is then searching for that in the external world.
It's actually cognitive bias.
Yeah.
It's a cognitive
Yeah.
bias.
So this is really important when we think of stress, right? Because we need to ask ourselves, what's my blueprint? What is my brain using to interpret the world around me and therefore to make it a stressful environment? So say, for example, your blueprint or your thoughts are, I'm not good enough, or I don't know what I'm doing, or I haven't got enough money. Your brain is going to use that as your blueprint to then interpret your external world. So you'll start to you know, there might be a conversation where someone's looking for an expert, let's say. This is the thing that's come up this week with my clients. If you don't believe that you're good enough, if you don't believe you're an expert, you might not even hear that call out because your brain is not looking for it. It's looking for reasons to validate the fact that you don't feel like an expert. So it's going to make sure you don't filter those bits into your consciousness. So the question I'd like to ask yourselves in terms of leveraging your brain to overcome the stress response, to help with busyness, is what is my blueprint? What are the things that I'm thinking that are not allowing me to be myself, to be uppy, right? And to achieve the things that I want to achieve. And then you just look at how can I change that. Again, it's really simple. The only way we built up the thought patterns that we have right now is by thinking them consistently. We didn't employ any amazing strategies to do it. We just thought about it consistently. So to reverse it, of course, we need to think about what do I want my blueprint to be, and then really focus in on those things. Again, I'm simplifying everything right now, but the point is to give you a bit of an insight that our thoughts really do create our reality. Make sense? Yes?
So is that as simple as having a positive or negative mindset about stuff?
Yeah, but I like to stay away from positive and negative because it's black and white. Yeah, so what's positive for you might be negative for me. So again, it's about checking in with yourself and just kind of going, what does it need to be right now for me? It's neither good or bad, it's just whatever it is. Does that make sense? Without wishing to sound wanky. So that's it, really. I mean, this is the whole message that I want you to take away today. The two key things. Number one, your brain, whatever your brain is doing, is trying to keep you safe. So trying to understand how can I communicate to my brain that I'm safe? And really the ultimate way to do that is to learn how to be yourself without restrictions, and then your brain is going to stop trying to prove itself all of the time, stop trying to hide the real you, and you can just be free to do whatever the hell it is that you want to do. Thank you, to be uppy. There we go. Buon appetito. Any other questions, by the way? No? Feel like you've all got my number, and give me a shout. If anyone wants to chat about anything, I'm more than happy to go for a walk, or I don't like sitting down and having a coffee, but you can go for a walk and have a chat.
So, I've got a couple of questions.
Yes.
So I think people, you can categorise yourself in terms of level of stress by what's going on in terms of colours. So you may be happy and lively, you may be a green, and then you may be the other end of the spectrum, you know, uncontrolled and red. So we all experience different levels of stress and stuff like that. So what would be your strategy if you're in the red zone as opposed to the orange zone? What are those rules?
In order to get yourself into another zone, ask yourself that question, what can I do right now to communicate safety? So what do I need to do to step back to communicate that everything's all right? So the easiest thing is to sit and breathe. Like that's the thing that you can always have no matter what. And then it's about working out what works for you. So it might be, so for me, for example, I'll listen to a particular song and that gets me back in the game. Watch a video of puppies or, whatever. It's about learning what makes me feel really good. But number one, like if you're really in the red zone, is I need to just step back right now. You might think you don't need to, that's when you need to, but always asking that question, how can I communicate to my brain right now that I'm safe? Yeah.
And back on the pregnancy thing, I'm watching